But let's do it at the top of the program. What do you think about Joe Tessitore?
I thought he did really well for two reasons. One, he was like Michael Cole in an unoffensive way. It didn't sound as fake as it can. And I thought he did a good job. And, secondly, I think he did a good job because when it was unimportant, I was able to just tune him out and pay attention to the wrestling. And I know that sounds weird, but sometimes with some of these people, they're just screaming at you for no reason. His voice went up and down at the right moments at times.
Well, but now I got to say, I saw it during the Punk segment, which we're going to talk about. I think they may have gotten his ear because they're fighting on the desk in front of him and he's calling it like a golf tournament. And then suddenly he's, oh my gosh. And then he kicked it up a notch. But I felt like.
Well, no, at one point he's like, and he's got the bracelet and he broke the beads.
And I mean, it's going to be a feeling out process, but I thought that he was trying to be very emotive with his facial expressions when they did the on-camera pitches, while at the same time he's having to read his notes because it's his first week. And he doesn't, you can study all you want, but but the thing is, are people just going to accept, because Michael Cole started on syndication or whatever, right? Everybody started somewhere. I get the famous flops like the Mike Adamle, and who was the other fellow that didn't take to it? I can't remember the guy's name.
Adnan something.
What? There you go. Casey?
Yeah. No, wasn't that Adnan?
But are the fans that dedicatedly watch the program going to accept a guy that they've never heard of before in the chair of the main chair of the main show?
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think they've been pretty accepting of outsiders. That Kevin Patrick lasted a long time whispering to people and getting excited.
I think that's because of Kevin Dunn more than the people, saying, oh, Kevin's a fine fellow.
But that's my point. There wasn't a big outcry, though. Like, people like us would talk about how ridiculous he was and how bad he was at this specific thing. But the common fan there, it wasn't like there were signs popping up or anything. I think they'll like this guy because I think he's a wrestling fan. Obviously, they'll always be in his ear, but it seemed like he picked up on what to do pretty quickly. Unless he has like a bunch of mistakes like within the next few weeks, because those will go viral quickly. He'll be fine, I think.
He'll be fine.
And wasn't he like Nick Khan's first client or something?
Oh, God, I don't know. I don't remember if we talked about this. I've put it out of my mind. But...
I think he may have been like client number one for Nick Khan.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, he's figured in. It's like when I told that, oh, my God, I told when a Ring of Honor was on HDNet, and an HDNet, the fight, department, wrestling, boxing, UFC, MMA, well, not UFC, but MMA, whatever. Guy Mesger was the, head of that department, I guess, at the time. And he came to one of the tapings and I was trying to help, transform that thing into a viewable television program, even though nobody could view HDNet. When they had Mike Hogwood doing the announcing, yeah. And the thing I said, we will not live long enough for Mike Hogwood to be a good wrestling announcer. And then I found out that was the guy they hired him to begin with. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
I have an article from a couple months ago in the New York Post when they first announced that Joe Tessitore was the new commentator on Raw. And it says here, the job is something of a full circle moment for Joe, who was the first media client of WWE president Nick Khan.
Well, there you go.
Oh, man. If you're like the second client, are you calling Nick Khan right now? Like, hey, you hiring anyone?
When a Raw switches guys, because Nick Khan's your guy, Tessitore.
So are you saying you got a bad feeling for this off the first night?
I think he's kind of, he's kind of a smooth announcer, but I don't know that he had settled in there, and he was trying a little hard on the emoting at the desks.
Hey, listen, how many announcers can settle in very quickly in a new place? Jim Ross famously had struggles with that in WWF, and a lot of that was Vince McMahon's management of the commentators.
Well, yeah, but normal, sane people are in charge now. Allegedly.
It'll be interesting because, again, you know, if he grew up watching the Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn wrestling only, that's the only style of commentating he knows. Basically, Vince McMahon into Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler into Michael Cole.
All those guys got into Michael Cole? Yes. I didn't know Michael was that kind of guy.
They toppled each other.
But you're just, okay, you're going to be a Tessitore guy, is what you're going to get the shirt. I'm a Tessitore guy. Is it because of your mutual Italian backgrounds?
Well, I'm not Italian, first of all. And second of all, I would never get a shirt like that for anyone.
I think secretly you're Italian because of your fetish about the New York pizza just a certain fucking way.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But what I'm going to say is there was nothing he did on this first episode of Raw that made me think this is a problem. Or
I'm
made
not
a mistake, or that he won't grow into this by week, you know, in the coming weeks. By week 2, he may be better than week 1.
When did I say any of those things?
You're ready to cut the guys. You're ready to send them to Mike Adamley Island. What are you talking about?
I was. Who
are the other failures, Brian, in the history of Raw? Let's name every failed commentator you can think of.
Not comparing his work to these other twats. I was saying that, like the fans, do they normally want just a brand new guy that they've never seen before? He's been on ESPN or whatever. I've never fucking seen him. I couldn't have picked him out of a police lineup. Do they want somebody suddenly just vaulting right into the fucking main chair there?
See, that's one of the things about commentators in other sports. Unless you're like a real hardcore fan and you watch every minute of it, you may just only know them by the voice. You may have no idea what they look like.
Well, I'm not saying he's an ugly looking man either. You're twisting my words.
That wasn't my words or the words I was trying to twist. I wasn't trying to twist.
I'm saying that if Vince was still here, that when they went to a death shot, they would either have him wearing a towel over his head or put a blue dot over his face.
All right, listen. This quick episode of the Drive-Thru, we've spent 11 minutes on Joe Tessitore.
Joe Tessitore.